Oh boy, my favorite thing about the Smile movie is the fact that they did something a bit different than the norm of just spooky ghosties or remakes of older franchises. And well, it appears they've decided to make a sequel to the movie Smile, affectionately naming it Smile 2. As we can see, Smile 2 has an IMDb rating of 6.9 out of 10, nice, and a popularity of 19, so hopefully that helps with driving in traffic to this video. Please, we appear to have an almost completely new cast, except for Joel, which makes sense if you remember how the first one ended. Speaking of which, he is looking rather rough and it appears he plans on transferring the curse, where, if you remember, he either has to off himself or someone else in front of someone to transfer said curse. And it appears he's chosen the perfect people for the job, but he messes it up by killing the other guy, so way to horrifically fumble the bag there, Joel. But hey, it turns out there just so happened to be another person in the house who just sat there quietly the entire time while this break-in was happening. And unfortunately, the rest of the gang is now there, but luckily, Joel makes it out of there safely. Maybe not that safely. But now we're introduced to our new main character, Sky Riley, as she is some big pop star as she is featured on The Real Drew Show, which I did not know existed until this movie. But we learn that Sky is a recovering drug addict who has supposedly turned it all around. During this long, drawn-out dance routine of which they didn't have to do, they just think it's really funny that they decided to choreograph an entire routine just to show that Sky's back hurts. But we find out that Sky is hurting from something, and what that might be, well, it turns out she has a very tiny scar on her back, which, why does that hurt? That explains a lot more. But surely she's not taking any pain meds, right? Because of the recovering drug addict thing? Right? Well, now she's definitely not, as she drops all the pills down the drain. So now that she no longer has her pain meds, it turns out that she has to find another way to help with the pain with unprescribed drugs. And if I were to tell you to guess how her drug dealer looks like, you're probably spot on, as he opens the door like a true weeb with a sick katana. And now Lewis is absolutely losing it, as we can only presume he is being taken over by the Smile Monster, much in the same way that Rose was at the end of the first movie. But maybe he's not, as Lewis decides it's now a great time to knock out some workouts. As he starts to knock out a set of skull crushers, the only problem is I don't think anybody ever taught him the proper form. And well, now it's Sky's turn to enjoy the Smile Demon Curse Monster thingy, and she almost calls 911, but the place is covered in drugs, so this is the one time I think not calling the cops is probably a good idea. Well, that would be until he's discovered, and then they realize that the last person he texted to come over was her, but we're just gonna ignore that like any good horror movie. And oh boy, does the curse work fast, as she's already seeing things in her room that night. And now we get to meet Darius, as he gives Joshua the meanest cold shoulder I've ever seen in my life. With a little bit of prodding from her mother, Sky decides to reach out to her good friend Gemma, or well, maybe old good friend Gemma. But while doing so, she gets an anonymous message asking if she was at Louis Frigoli's place, and man, what a last name. But luckily Louis is right behind her, and so far all of the scares in this movie haven't been anything over the top, but they've actually been rather goofy, but we'll have to see how that turns out. Then during a little meet and greet, which granted was kind of fun.
One heart got me through literally the worst breakup of my life. I feel like you're my spirit animal, and oh my gosh, can I give you a hug? Oh my gosh, yes.
Scott, you gotta check out my SoundCloud.
Oh.
Wait, who does your production? All right, dog, let's grab that photo now.
Doctor, I need a new brain. Oh my god, that was amazing.
The textbook definition of a creep shows up, only to tell Sky she has such beautiful skin, talking like a true Buffalo Bill. So many Voss water bottles that I'm now going to keep track of how many there are. Currently there's 17. Scratch that. 18. Okay, I may have to retract my previous statement of the other dude being the creep, because this girl is giving her all. Also, what are these contacts? Everyone has full names except for the famous people. Those like Conan, Fallon, Doja, Billy, Gaga in all caps. Like, did we just not want to look up their real names, or do we want to make sure that people know that she's texting famous people? Backing out of that, she decides to jump right in and give her a call, only to get the voicemail. But she instantly gets a call back to give us one of the most awkward calls I've had the displeasure of listening to. And while Sky is singing a song and playing the piano, the star of the movie, the Voss water bottle, falls off the counter and shatters. And oh boy, what does Sky see on the floor? Well, that would be the shirt that she signed for the creepy guy. And that's kinda how that works, genius. Maybe it's for a reason. As Sky and Gemma are laying in the bed, Sky continues to talk about how she doesn't know how to be normal and how her life is so hard. That is, until Gemma turns into a car. After finding out that she overslept, Sky is super terrified. I know this is Sky Riley, the singer. You know, just to mess with her right before going on stage. After going up to the mic, it appears she's using a teleprompter. But why? I mean, you couldn't just put something together. You have to have all your lines fed to you. But of course, said teleprompter stops working and she proceeds to give the worst cold open by clarifying she's sober.
I'm sober. So.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
And this entire speech is so rough to watch because it's not even the demon doing it. She's just drowning herself out there, even saying music almost got her killed and how she's put drugs up her nose. And my dear Lord Jesus, please someone make the suffering end. I'll even take the smile demon if it makes this whole encounter stop. But hey, the teleprompter started working again, so let's go. Only for it to have Paul Hudson was her boyfriend who was in the crash with her, just in case I forgot to mention that. Paul's smile demon pops up out of nowhere. You know what? Maybe her mother should have listened to her when she said she couldn't do the speech. The anonymous texter sends another message saying that Sky is in serious danger and that they can help them, but they need to meet. And oh boy, look, they use the exact same jump scare from the first movie. Like, come on, man, why? Did the guy who made the first one just think that this was the coolest thing ever? And now we find the man who's here to explain what the smile curse is. Well, at least he has a reason to know all this, saying that his brother was affected by the curse and his life goal is to now stop it. But how does he plan on doing that, you may ask? Well, by killing Sky. That way it wouldn't be able to pass itself on to anyone else. His plan is to artificially stop her. We also find out that she has a small village living in her closet that looks like the poster for the world's lamest improv group. And good lord, this entire scene is more goofy than scary. I don't know, maybe it's just the people more so than the scene, but I can't see this soccer mom looking person here and take the scene seriously at all. I don't know, maybe it's just this one person sticks out in every shot that they're in. Look at this. But luckily we don't have to deal with that anymore because a hand enters Sky's mouth. What are we doing here? And now we get a look into what happened the night of the crash, and it turns out they were, which I am immediately calling cap. This woman has drank more water bottles in this movie than I probably have all week. Sky and her mother argue about doing the upcoming show, with their mom going on a rant about how she has sacrificed her career and put every fiber into helping her. Lady? No one said you had to do that. Gemma hasn't actually been Gemma, as Sky gets a phone call in the car, and the caller is none other than Gemma, who apparently hasn't seen or talked to her in over a year. So every time we've seen Gemma, it's all just been the spooky ghost, which makes no sense to me, especially as it is that for some reason these girls got all the way to the front of the shot only to act like she just found out her date. They're all reacting to the fact that it's now review time. And oh boy, it is now finally review time as I give my final ratings on Smile 2. For the plot, it only gets a 0.5 for me. The plot is almost a complete copy and paste of the previous movie, the only real difference being the popularity of the person with the curse. It's just so similar to the first. I understand it's going to be hard to make it different than the first one. For example, all the Friday the 13th movies, all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, a lot of them are all going to be very similar, but I really just feel like this movie didn't provide anything new that had already been provided in the first movie. Because yeah, it's a curse that makes people have weird smiles, and it's going to force you to try to kill yourself and try to get you to spread the curse to someone else. But whenever you take a movie into a sequel, you want to add something to it that the viewers didn't get in the first movie. And I can almost guarantee that nobody came out of this movie after watching the first one going, yeah, that makes me feel completely different about the first one. My whole perception has just been changed, because it's not. It's really just the same movie, just copy and pasted. And then the whole everything you just saw wasn't real. That is so annoying, because whenever a movie does that, it can take any cop out that it wants. It could say, oh, this character didn't die because they were having a vision. This person didn't die because they were having a vision. The secret curse isn't finished because it was actually just a vision. And it just makes the whole movie that you've just spent roughly 2 hours watching pointless. Because no matter what happens throughout that entire movie, in the last final seconds, they can go, psych, it was all just a vision. None of it was real. and everything you've just done over the last 2 hours means nothing. So for me, the plot is just not good. I didn't like it whatsoever, so it only got the 0.5 for me. For the acting, oh man, we're also just going to give it the 0.5. The main reason being the dialogue, which I know that's more of a script issue, but come on, man. It had an F-word counter. It'd probably be 200 times the amount of the Voss water bottles that were in this movie. It's like they took the thought of having interesting dialogue or having a character kind of lose it or have some sort of mental breakdown, and they just decided, what if we just throw the F word in there 50 times to really show how upset they are? I mean, Rose in the first movie was going through the same stuff. I don't even know if I remember her saying the F word once, but it was just every other line with the main character in this. And I'm someone who in my everyday life, I do swear, not a lot, but I do swear. And it's not like I sit here and I think anybody who swears shouldn't have the right to speak or that it's disgusting or anything like that. But when it's every other second, man, it is just so hard to get past that and just enjoy the movie. Like I made a joke in the review earlier. There's literally like a 15-second period where the only word that is said is the F word. And it's like, what are we doing here? And I had the same exact issue in the last movie that I did with this one. If you're going to make a movie about smiles being creepy, please get people who can make creepy smiles and not people who look like they had to be explained how to properly execute a smile. The friend at the end of the movie, whenever she does her smile, I didn't know if that was a smile or if she was holding in a fart or if she got some sort of face paralysis and her face just got stuck like that for a few minutes. It's just, if your main objective is to have this one item be creepy, have people that can make that one item be creepy. If I make a movie called Big Buff Men Tear Down Tokyo, I better have 18 swole dudes who have been taking steroids for their entire life instead of getting 18 super scrawny guys. You got to know your cast. I don't know. I don't know why that sticks with me, but that always does. For the cinema, why break the norm? We're just gonna go with another 0.5. I really didn't like the cinematography. They used the same upside down shots from the last movie. They used the same exact jump scare and so much CGI that you would think it was digitally remastered by George Lucas and Disney. It's just, they took the first movie and saw that, hey, this did really good in the box office. We made a good amount of money on this. What if we do it again? And that's exactly what they did. And I'm not being facetious when I say that, because they used a lot of the same shots, which granted, if you're a director and you decide the cinematography and you decide how everything's gonna look, yes, there will probably be some consistencies between movie to movie. But I liked the first movie when they used the upside down shot because it was kind of used to portray the fact that, you know, she was kind of losing it. In this movie, they're like, what if we just take that camera and keep spinning? And it happened like every other scene, which really takes away from the impact of, you know, distorting the camera to make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. They just decided, let's do it again. And then I don't know if it was meant to be a callback, if it was supposed to be an Easter egg, but the fact that they used almost the same exact jump scare, bar for bar, the only difference is instead of having Rose listen to the audio and having the ghost pop up beside her to jump scare her, it was just, oh, here's a random Snapchat video where we're gonna make you stare at this little black corner of the room, and we're gonna have the same exact thing where the thing jumps up and scares you. I'll put them right next to each other if you don't believe me, just so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm not making a stretch here. This is almost the same thing. And then the CGI, they used so much CGI when it felt like it didn't need to be used. In the stupid car ride argument when it kept going back and forth. Yes, I know you're not going to put an actual car on an actual road and have these people not pay attention to the road and actually crash. But if you're going to go with this shot and your CGI is going to look that bad, pick a different shot. Maybe have it from the front of the car. I don't understand why you were so dead set on doing this swivel camera where it looked them dead in the eyes from 2 inches away. Just have it from the front of the car. Have it do cuts, have it do anything else, but it feels like the director fell in love with the single-use shot and just wanted to use that the whole way through. So the cinematography is also not doing this movie any favors. And for the bonus point, it's not getting the bonus point. It's not getting a 0.5, it's not getting anything. It's just 0. I really liked the first Smile movie for it being original, and this just went completely against that. As I've said numerous times during this review, it was almost a direct copy and paste with a person thrown in to try to explain the curse. The last movie, they were having to figure it out, and they were detectives, and they were figuring out the strain of people that came up before this. In this one, it's just, hey, here's a dude that's going to tell you everything that's happening to you, which I understand. It's got to be hard to figure out a way to authentically incorporate that into this movie, to have just a random person reach out to the main character to tell them exactly what the curse is. But I mean, she couldn't do something. She couldn't find any other way to figure it out on her own. There just had to be this guy dropped into the middle of the movie to be able to show her what the curse is, explain what the curse is and why it's happening. I don't know. This one just, it felt uninspired. It felt really plastic, if that makes sense. It's just, there's no sustenance behind it. I mean, hell, for my opinion, instead of having the random person thrown in there to try to explain the plot, just put an asterisk at the beginning of the movie that says, make sure you go watch Smile 1 so that you know how the curse works. Because the fact that you literally just had someone spawned in to explain the curse, I don't know. I really don't understand it. Maybe I'm in the minority here. Maybe I am, because the popularity of this movie is 18. 18. What am I missing here? Am I the problem? Am I getting old? Am I getting boomer? Is this me? Instead of me having my midlife crisis, let me go ahead and add up these points for you. For the plot, oh my god, it's 3.5s. Let's just add the 3.5s. It has a total score of 1.5 out of 10, which is abysmal. That might actually be worse than the Talk to Me one. Oh no. I think Talk to Me might have just gotten bumped up the list, because this one might honestly be worse than Talk to Me. I really did not like this movie. Watching it during it, it's not bad. It's, like I said, if you didn't see the first one, maybe it comes off a little bit better, but I did not enjoy watching this whatsoever. The IMDb gave it a 6.9 out of 10. Nice, but I'm just so drastically on the opposite side of this, and I don't know why. I don't know what exactly compelled people to rate it as high as it did. Maybe I'll go back and look at it and I'll make a little add-on here at the end, but I don't know. For me, it wasn't good. I didn't like it. If you want to go and watch it just to watch the second Smile, go for it. But if you expect it to kind of be this interesting movie that really kind of worries you throughout it, I wouldn't recommend it, honestly. Okay, so I did end up adding this PS postscript, whatever. I looked at the ratings for IMDb. I guess people are just a lot more forgiving when it comes to rating certain things, because going through and reading some of these, a lot of the ratings have the same kind of gripes that I have, but instead of, harshly criticizing the movie, it's just, they give it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10, even though they have the same issues that I have. It's almost like, they're like, oh, well, this didn't make sense. This didn't make sense. I didn't really like this, but I don't want to seem like the bad guy on IMDb, so let me put 6 out of 10. Why does it have such a high rating? Apparently people are just too afraid to hit the 1-star button. I mean, for example, I'll take this, just any of them. They all have the same issues, and it's just, I don't know. I don't know why I recorded this part. It makes no sense, but it's just like, here, I'll just use this one from GingerSnap79463. Smile 1 was far superior for me. The main character of this film wasn't likable or relatable. I really wish the film would have been about Joel, who would have been really interesting as he's much more likable. Way too many jump scares. I don't know how hallucinations went way overboard. I felt frustrated watching this. Rules were thrown out the window. We didn't get any new information about the entity, which is what really interests me. None of the characters were likable. This movie was dumbed down big time to please the dumbed down masses. Way too many lost water plugs. Voss, obviously. I couldn't stand for the hair pulling. I can go on and on. The first one was terrific. This one falls short. So in that review, right, it sounds like they hated this movie. It sounds like they went and watched this movie and went, wow, my life feels so much less valuable after having watched that. Would you like to guess what rating they gave it? A 6 out of 10. A 6 out of 10. What do you mean 6 out of 10? You just sat there explaining how you didn't like the movie, and you're like, above average. We need to normalize people giving harsher ratings on movies. Look, not everyone's going to agree with you, but if you're going to sit here and say how you do not like a movie, and then given an above average rating? Why are you here at that point? It's just, I don't know. It's so frustrating to me now that I understand why this movie has higher ratings. It's because people who watch it are too afraid to sit there and click the 1-star button. Oh man, I'm glad I had this little crash out. But this has been my review of the movie Smile 2. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to like, comment, any suggestions, however you would like to interact with this video. Interactions always help the video go up. I'm trying to be a little bit more consistent with posting videos. If you enjoyed this, I've got plenty of others just like it. If you'd like to stick around and watch more, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. I need a few more criteria before I hit the next step in monetization of YouTube, so I'll take anything that I can get at this point. But as previously stated, that was my review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my mini crash out at the end, and until next time, I will see you in the next one. Adios. And little did you know, this was never actually a movie review. Instead, this has really just been a Minecraft Let's Play this entire time. So yeah, how does it feel? Get duped.